Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into a really beautiful paradigm shift in the home lab world. We're looking at that exact satisfying moment when a chaotic pile of hardware finally becomes a sleek, fully operational microcluster. And we're going to break down this architecture with the kind of clean lines and efficient design that perfectly mirrors that iconic Proxmox logo style itself. It's all about high function meeting elegant form.
56 watts. That is the staggering, continuous power draw of the fully running Proxmox cluster we are looking at today. We're not talking 560 watts here. This isn't some massive setup that warms your office like a space heater. 56 watts. That is the magic number that turns a home cluster from a guilty, expensive pleasure into something you can comfortably leave running 24/7 without doing panicked mental math every time your power bill arrives.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the 56-watt flex, the anatomy of the cluster, avoiding the sandcastle trap, the community divide, and finally, why this tiny setup is small, efficient, and surprisingly dangerous. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The 56-watt flex and redefining home lab power.
For years, home labs had a pretty strange relationship with excess, didn't they? The baseline for a great lab used to be the old flex, buying cheap, used enterprise gear. And sure, it was incredibly capable, but it came with massive heat, jet engine noise, and just absurdly high power draw. Today, the new Flex is entirely different. We're talking about tiny boxes, whispering quiet, sipping power like they have somewhere else to be, and elegantly fitting into a custom 3D printed rack. You literally no longer have to pretend your house is a commercial data center just to learn serious virtualization.
And you know, the aesthetics really matter here too. In the build we're analyzing, the creator went for a super clean look. Though, actually, it's pretty funny. One commenter pointed out that 2 of the HP node logos were dark and 1 was silver. The builder just played along and said they'd grab a Sharpie to color the silver one in. But honestly, that tiny exchange reveals something profound. The imperfections only stand out because the rest of the stack is just so incredibly intentional. It channels that highly functional, structured Proxmox logo style we talked about earlier. Clean work absolutely has momentum.
Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of the Cluster. What does 56 watts actually run?
So this setup isn't just sitting there looking pretty. It is doing some real heavy lifting. The hardware foundation relies on a group of compact HP-style machines sitting in that printed rack, handling the virtualization. It's currently running 5 virtual machines and 2 containers. This is actively supported by a few Raspberry Pis handling side duties like the HomeSeer home automation, DNS, and DHCP. Plus, there's already a planned expansion for security video. This is not a theoretical shopping list, guys. It's an assembled, running ecosystem.
Just look at this household infrastructure stack being powered by that tiny footprint. You've got Jellyfin handling media, Tailscale for seamless remote access, and Ansible for automation. It's running Home Assistant to pull the house into the system, Portainer for Docker management, and my personal favorite, Uptime Kuma, watching over the whole stack like a nervous little lighthouse. This is the very definition of modern home infrastructure. It's this beautiful mesh of small conveniences that together become the indispensable backbone of a household.
Section 3. Avoiding the sandcastle trap. The unsung hero of home labs.
Now, an elegant cluster is really only as good as its ability to survive the inevitable disasters of home networking. And this brings us to a concept called the sandcastle trap. You can build a beautiful, highly complex home lab, but if it lacks verified, functional backups, it is fundamentally temporary. A lab without a proper backup strategy is literally just a sandcastle waiting for the first SSD to die or a single bad update command to wash the entire thing away.
To avoid this trap, our source build utilizes a highly specific architecture. As the creator perfectly put it, Proxmox Backup Server is the part that keeps the lab from being a sandcastle. The builder routes backups to a Proxmox Backup Server, which then uses an NFS mount to push data to a separate NAS. Now, that might not be as visually glamorous as a neatly 3D printed rack, but this exact architecture is what separates a weekend toy project from a highly resilient, production-ready system.
Section 4. The community divide. Art gallery versus infrastructure practice.
When this build was shared online, it immediately sparked a fascinating debate about what tech communities should actually value. On one side, you have the gallery complaint. People fear the hobby is turning into mere interior decorating for network equipment, just show-and-tell loops of pretty racks with absolutely zero technical depth, fueling gear envy. But on the other side is the useful reference. This specific 56-watt post completely bypassed the complaint because it paired a clean aesthetic with hard, replicable details. It gave us power specs, backup paths, service layouts. It didn't just show a picture, it sparked a real technical design conversation.
And that conversation led to one of the best interactions in the thread. When one enthusiastic viewer saw the setup and said they wanted one exactly like it, the builder replied with the ultimate community mantra: make it. Don't wait for a commercial appliance. Don't wait for a polished, off-the-shelf kit to be handed to you. Print the rack, wire the nodes, break something, fix it, and make it yourself.
Section 5. Small, efficient, and dangerous. Let's look at the escalation path.
Because this foundation is so incredibly solid, it's actually quite dangerous in terms of its potential to scale up. The community quickly mapped out an advanced escalation path for a build exactly like this. Step 1, start with clean, low-power nodes like EliteDesk Minis. Step 2, add better storage capacity. Step 3, and this is where it gets super advanced, integrating external M.2 devices to run distributed Ceph storage across the nodes. And Step 4, eliminating those messy wall wart power bricks entirely by running the machines via Power over Ethernet directly from a UniFi switch. Suddenly, your tiny, efficient cluster is a real distributed platform, still keeping those clean lines we love.
But you have to start somewhere, right? And you have to actually complete the build. Finished is such a powerful word. In a hobby that is absolutely littered with abandoned Docker containers, half-migrated services, and machines sitting in a closet waiting for just one more part, achieving a state of assembled and running is the ultimate dream. This 56-watt cluster proves that a serious home lab doesn't need to be huge to feel remarkably complete.
Which leaves us with a final provocative question for your own infrastructure journey. Are you running a complete, efficient system right now? Or are you still staring at a pile of unfinished plans? It might just be time to stop planning, start building, and finally power on your own 56-watt Flex.
Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.